are y'all?
Good
Hello.
morning. Good morning.
Sorry for the delay. My coffee just kept on making and making and making and making. And I'm like, finish already. I almost slid another cup and took mine away just so I could. I have to turn this thing on, man. Come on. So, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. Love it. Pulling up my other thing that I want to talk about today because I got two. And I know it's in here. Oh, I know where it is. It's not in here. It's in my photographs. Cool beans. First thing I want to show you guys. Let's go dig into the, actually, let's dig into this. I ran across this interesting website and I was looking around for where new construction is. And so I ran across this chamberofcommerce.org all about new construction. So cities with the most new homes.
Oh,
Yeah, fairly recent, June 6th, right? So Houston tops the list. And so I was kind of going through the list, Houston, Dallas, New York, Phoenix. So I'm going to ask you guys a question here in a second. Charlotte, Austin, Orlando, Nashville, LA. So, clearly Texas is definitely the place to be. But then again, all over our sort of eastern seaboard area also. So Houston, Dallas, New York, Phoenix, Atlanta, Charlotte, top places. And then I started to look at new home starts. So, piles of them. I'm like, holy moly, that's awesome. There are 10 top places. And then as I was scrolling down to get some more stats, it's kind of walking you through average permits per month, et cetera, et cetera. But then more stats. But then as you go scroll down, largest declines in new home construction. So these are the biggest declines. And as I was going through and I'm like, wow, like Kansas City, Missouri down 66%. Holy moly, right? Milwaukee, Honolulu down 50%. Honolulu makes sense, what's going on there. But then I saw New York, Seattle, hang on, New York again, Austin. That was on the first. Texas, here we go. Dallas, Fort Worth area, Phoenix, Orlando. Those were on the top list. Those were literally our top. Dallas, Phoenix, Orlando, New York. So now here's my question to y'all. What does that tell you? What do you guys make sense of that?
Not building as many as they built last year.
Yeah, pretty much across the board. Right? Okay, so why?
Interest rates.
Why?
Cost and interest rates.
Cost and interest rates. Okay, bigger picture, why?
Materials.
supply.
Material, supply, cost, demand.
Well, and if you think about it, a lot of the construction loans are ballooned. And so they come due when the interest rates are higher. So they're not able to get as much financing as they were before. So they're not building as much as they were before.
That could probably
And the cost of materials have gone up as well. Because
Right.
commercial's been affected because a lot of the properties were done with balloon payments.
Yep.
Tell me if I'm wrong, though. I think cost of construction went down from last year to this year.
It did.
Yeah, it really did go down.
It did because remember how COVID and the lumber shot sky high?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then the lumber costs and then the other costs just ballooned up with it. And it was like, it felt like many people were just taking advantage of the situation. So
but uncertainty is higher.
And if we're down still 3 to 4 million units across America, then what's going on?
I think builder confidence definitely went down between last year and this year, but it's back up this quarter again. So I think we might be seeing a possible shift in those numbers, in the declines, possibly going back up again. But then again, that could be skewed if interest rates continue to stay at this point. But what builders are doing a lot in my market, at least that I'm seeing, they're offering a lot of buy downs. That being said, their profit margins are significantly lower. I have builders who have sold properties like that one that I was like, oh my God, that was a crazy good steal. That profit margin was zero.
Mhm.
It was absolutely zero. So they sold a home without making a single dime of a profit. Normally, their profit margins could be ranging higher. One builder dropped it down to 5%. Another one is okay selling at 1.9% consistently, not just like a one-off home. It's
Right.
very interesting.
I'm seeing a big inventory that's not selling. They're offering all sorts of builder incentives. And I've now got a list yesterday from one of the new builders that I told my VA to post. And it's a ton. And they're offering 6%, 4%, 5% commissions to get them sold.
The builders, yeah, the builders that we're talking to through Hoodle and on that end of it across America, scared, nervous, concerned. I wouldn't call them scared, but they are very concerned.
Right, their
Very-
confidence.
Their confidence rate did go up a little bit in the last few months, but if you looked at their confidence index prior to Q1 of 2023, it was really low. I think they were like in the, oh, I don't want to misquote. I'll look it up. I'll let you guys know, but it did go up a little bit.
Right. So, Anna, by the way, you sound like a little hoarse and a little crackly.
Mhm.
Okay, just use your voice.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm not getting much sleep and I
Well,
don't have the best day. I'm not sick, so that's good. But
we're just
but yeah,
gonna
I'm not
say
getting
that no
sick.
matter what anyway. You are not sick.
Yes, I am not sick.
All right.
I love
Jesus'
you.
name,
Thank
you're
you.
not sick.
Sorry?
In Jesus' name, you're not sick.
There you
Yes.
go. There you go. Sick. So the builders that we're talking to are nervous. And in 07, 8, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, there were these rumbles that there was maybe something little tiny rumbles in 5 and 6, hardly anything, just like a little whisper. And it started building in 7. And then of course, everything came crashing down in the tail end of 07 or 08, depending upon where you are. I mean, Sacramento hit first and it hit really early. But the part of the problem why Vegas and Phoenix got hit so bad, those two, so the cities, so I lived on the West Coast. So the cities that we were watching were Sacramento, Vegas, Phoenix, because they got so utterly decimated when this thing, 07, 08, 09, 10, 11, when that happened. And across the board in those 3 cities, the same thing happened, is that there was a rumble, and then it started to like crumble, and then it started to come crashing down, but the builders didn't stop building because they had massive confidence. And they're like, no, we're going to be able to ride this thing out. We'll just keep on building. And that's why those 3 towns in particular got hit so bad, because then you had not just all the foreclosure inventory and the short sale inventory, but you had massive new construction inventory that did not stop or slow down. And people learned from that. And then, oh, where'd that go? And I want to go back to that chat and go pop that open. People learn from that. And so they can see the rumblings and grumblings going on. And they're just kind of chilling back a little bit. So even though it's not stopping a lot, and we have new starts up really high in those 10 cities in particular, I think the list actually goes down to 20. Some of those same cities, those same builders, that did do 100 starts last year, are only going to do 50 this year. And they're just sort of like pulling back a little bit and paying attention and watching. And you are going to see, I would be shocked if you didn't see builders who are more friendly to outside agents now, aren't giving away more stuff now, aren't making upgrades, a lot more upgrades available, that kind of thing. So if you've got buyers, this is a really good time, as many of you know, to get them into new construction, because where 2 years ago, they were like, take it or leave it. And now they're like, can we get you an extra upgrade here? What do you want? That kind of thing. So I just thought that was really interesting. Any other thoughts on that one before I dig into the next thing, which is completely unrelated? No other thoughts? All right. I'm going to tell you guys a cool little factoid thing that I found. And then from that, well, never mind, I'll just read it to you. The U.S. Standard Railroad gauge, the distance between, oh, Anna, what do you got, darling?
Oh, sorry, love. I was just gonna ask, I see you posting a lot on new construction. Have you partnered with Rom?
Yeah, I am partnered with Ron.
Yay, that's awesome. I didn't know.
Thank you.
From before, or just this is a new thing.
It's fairly new. So I partnered up with him, and it's we're gonna do a big blow. I think Columbus or Cleveland's the first city that we're going after, and we're going after whole cities now. Still individual stuff. And I've really been helping them out to grow, but we're gonna go after a whole city just because the SEO will like go like crazy, and that's sort of the
Yeah, for sure.
so
That's awesome.
thank you.
Put me in. I'd be more than happy to help because I'm doing a lot of new construction now.
What you know what we can do? So we're gonna do Cleveland or Columbus. Wow, Columbus or Cleveland first. I'm leaning towards Cleveland. And then once we blow that open, then we'll have the model completely built on what works and doesn't work to blow open a city, and then we can go blow open your city. And then
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
right.
it.
All right, let's do it. I love this. Yes. Okay. The US standard, and now for something completely different. The US standard railroad gauge, the distance between the rails is 4 feet 8.5 inches, which is really a weird number, right? You guys want to know why that was used? That 4 feet 8.5 inches? Say yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you. Because that's the way they built them in England.
Uh-huh.
And English engineers designed the US railroads. So hence that's what we have over here in America. But why did the English build them that way? Well, they built them because the first rail lines were built by the same people who built the wagon tramways, and that's the gauge they used. So why did they use that gauge? Because the people who built the tramways used the same jigs and tools which they had used for building wagons, and that was the exact same wheel spacing. So why did wagons have that wheel spacing? Well, if they tried to use any other spacing, the wagon wheels would break, and they would break because of the long roads that were in England that were not your familiarity. There you go. That were not like your standard roads in town, but when you got out of town, it was the very old ancient roads, and that was the spacing. Because that's how wide apart the wheel ruts were, right? So how did the wheel ruts get there? Well, the wheel ruts got there because when Rome built roads, that's how wide Rome built roads. Okay. So those roads have been used ever since, and we still use the old Roman roads are still used throughout a lot of Europe. And so the ruts in the road were formed by Roman war chariots. So when the war chariots came through, that was the size of the wheels of the war chariots. And if you did anything else after that, you would destroy the wagon wheels, because if the ruts were here, but the wagon wheels were here, it would cause them to do this and then it would break. So that's why we have that gauge. So why were the Roman chariots that wide? Because that was the width of 2 war horse asses. And it had to be that far apart in order for the chariot to be behind the 2 war horse butts. So our railway gauge today is because of the width of 2 Roman war horse butts. And
Asshole.
Exactly. That's what led the chariot.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I thought it was hilarious when I got to that level. So, but I loved this because I love we do it today because it came from England. Okay, but why? Because that's how wide the wagons were. But why? Because that's the way the wheels would used to break. Why? Because the ruts in the road. Why? Because the Roman soldiers. Why? Because they had chariots. What was with the chariots? Why? Because the horse was this wide. And that's why. And it had to be that wide because the horses' butts were this wide. Oh, and that's the beginning of why we have railroad gauges the way that we do. So reading this made me sit down and kind of think about the whole concept of what do we do that we have done, because what am I doing? Let me take this down personally. What have I been doing? Because that is the way I have always done it, specifically in real estate and business. And is that hurting me or helping me? And it really made me wake up to some things that I've been doing and made me go, okay, hang on, shift this, switch this up, change that, change this. And not just for the sake of change, because if it's not working and I just go spin my wheels faster and more furiously, so what? It's not working. It's not working. The old way that I was bringing people onto my personal team, when I was first started to work on building out my team, when it got to the question of how many people on your team, 2, well, that didn't work, and I had to sit down and think and go, all right, so thank you very much, Kathy, by the way. All right, so what am I going to do to spin this a different direction? Oh, well, my sister team's 125 agents in 36 states. And so that's the sister team, and this is the sister team. And then we're launching other sister teams. So I mentioned to you, Anna, sister team, and Bree, what you're building out. So we have a sister team and we're launching other sister teams. And then once I said that, people are like, oh, okay. Because they know that they're launching onto something that's proven and standard. My class that I built, I am strongly considering taking it into some churches and some other things to sell as a group. So it's one flat fee, bring all your people, and then we'll put this together. I'm also looking at launching a X amount of money per month for 3 months, because I built a 12-week version of it, and going after it that direction rather than the thing that we're also working on, which is getting the webinar built, which is for the sales funnel, which is because I don't know any of that. So for me, it's a long process to get that puppy built. But this would be a shorter way and I could get it in front of people. And then I'm also looking at building out a Toastmasters group here locally in my town, because I can use that to go talk to real estate agents. I can also use it to build that group, and I can also use it to build a nice tight body right here where I live in my community. So then my question goes to you. If you think for a little bit, what is it in your business that you have that you've been working on, that you've done it the same way and it's just not working? And we do it because the size of the horse's asses.
Might be other asses.
Mine was my own horse's butt that was in my own way, personally.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
That's what I was thinking too. That and anyway, yeah. I'm in the throes of. I've got a contract for $1,000 for a VA. They say they can get up the website. They're trained on KV Core, doing several things. And that's definitely a change, because I don't want to let things go. I'm a little anal about, but it hadn't been getting done. So talk about the horse's ass being in the way.
Yeah.
But the contract's there, but I don't feel confident that they can do it. I don't feel that way, or I'd pull the trigger and send them $1,000. And that's like this week, it's $250 a week, basically. So first week, last week, and then the 2 weeks that they're working on, plus a $250 setup fee. And so that's holding me up in the respect of making changes. And that would be a big change for me to turn stuff loose to a VA. I've had VAs for specific things that have been proven, but they were $20 an hour. Now they got things done. They were with Ronald Grand, but they didn't take very well to the bridle and to the bit. I had to either turn them on or turn them off. And they just put it up. They didn't listen twice. So that's one of the big things that this conversation brings up with me. And that's what's going on right now. And I have 2 other questions about other things too.
Okay.
One is, who do I go to for short sales? I want to list a short sale. I've done them before. Is there anybody on the team that does them? Because I have a couple of questions. And I want to enroll. I want to get my friend Steve, who's with Remax, in the team. What's the first step? I'm recruiting Steve as a real estate agent. He's a licensed agent out in Seattle area.
Oh, one of my hometowns that I lived in. Dutch, hook up, do a three-way call with you, Gary and Steve. So set that up and then just let Gary know ahead of time. Well, I mean, book it onto Gary's calendar. And,
Okay.
yeah, and do it that way and let Gary do your heavy lifting for you.
All right.
So that takes care of that one.
Steve
And
is real close. Steve is real close to me. He's gone through a transition and I've been talking to him for a while, but he's going through a very rough personal time right now. And he's actually the guy we're starting the bank with.
yeah, let's get him in and get him taken care of. But let Gary do your heavy lifting for you. He'll totally, especially if there's the banking world's involved, because that's Gary's old world.
I know. I talked to him a little bit about it. Just said he didn't have $2.5 million at the time.
Right.
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, I approached him for that. And Craig's number, I need Craig's number. He's in South Carolina. I called 3 FISBOs down there that just popped up on my radar. So I'm gonna need Craig to
Craig's in the dark right now, but Craig needs to come back into the light. Hopefully Craig will come back into the light here in a minute. If not,
with what you've just talked about, why don't we make change? Why don't we make changes? The biggest one for me is fear of making another mistake. I hired a VA, a personal assistant for $50,000 a year 4 months ago. She flaked out. She wasn't true about what she wanted to do. She'd rather go put flowers in jars and sell them at her friend's florist house. And in Virginia Beach, I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to do, go help her out, but she left me when I needed somebody to do the work that I think she was trained to do, but she just wasn't into it. And she led me on to think that she was. So there's an area of trust that I have there.
right.
I've gotten burned. I mean, it cost me $4,000 to pay somebody who just quit. I mean, I have a team to train somebody to be an acquisitionist for me. And I paid them $1,500 for training and to train my acquisitionist. And I was putting her in for an acquisitionist Friday afternoon. I said, I'm setting you up for training, not giving her a $3,000 course too. Didn't cost me anything, but buying houses subject to with Ronald Grand, I could get her in as my assistant. And she watched it all. She took it all in, but so there's a level of trust. So what can I do about that, Gina? How can I get in this old fart head that wants to go down the same road? And
aren't you glad that you found out $4,000 in instead of 50,000?
Yes, I would have found out early because the work wasn't coming up to what I was seeing some signs of it.
Right. So one of the things when I take my time to hire, okay, so let's talk about hiring for a second. I am not a huge, like I am not the big guru of hiring. I am not it. I have made 2 extraordinarily good hires and probably 20-ish not so good hires. And if you go back through my whole career, I've made 3 really kick-ass hires, like kick-ass. And that's not agents. I've made a ton of good agent hires. I mean, on the admin support side. And my 2 of them, I would say I completely 100,000% completely lucked out. I just lucked out and I got the right person. That being said, the first one was a girl when I was in accounting, and she eventually, I trained her up, and eventually after about 2 years, she left. And that's cool. I mean, we gave her a great big huge party and I was really, really happy for her because she got an amazing job and she got it because I trained her on everything and I couldn't afford to cover the new salary she was going to get. And that's awesome. Like, that's awesome. The second one I left because I sold my team and she was part of the package of what we sold. And then the third one works for me right now. But in between then, lots of not so good ones, lots. So there's a thing called talent versus no talent. And I use that one to help out. And then the other thing is I use in the very beginning, I'm going to have my finger on top of you like this, and you're going to have very little locus of control, and I'm going to have massive locus of control. And then eventually, as time goes on, at about the 90-day window, it's going to start shifting. And at 180 days, you're going to have a massive high locus of control. I will have a very low locus of control, but you are going to, by that time period, like, I'm not going to know what you're doing for the most part. I'm just going to know that you're doing a kick-ass job and things get done. So it's very hands-on in the beginning. And I let them know, because the personality for me does not want this.
Mhm.
Like, you're going to hate it in the beginning. And it's just the way it has to be. I have to work with you really closely. And then once I do launch a person and they're like launched, and then one of my things that I really am strong about is you're going to F things up. You're going to screw it up. It's going to be okay. I empower you to go screw things up. And the reason why I do that is because I want you to go out there and go make mistakes.
That's right.
Yep. And then, we'll fix them. But it's okay, because if I need to tell you every single thing to do, I don't need you. And so that's another conversation I've had with people also. Like, if I have to tell you, if you have to ask me permission to do everything, and I have to explain to you every single thing that there is to do at this stage, why do I need you?
That's
And
right.
yeah. So those are some of my things, but I look for talent and non-talent, and then very, very slow to hire and very quick to fire.
I heard that too. And that's what my acquisitionists tell me. The acquisitionist trainers with, this book's been ingrained in me the last 5 years, which is The Less I Do, the More I Make, by Ron LeGrand. And he said the first person that he would hire is a good personal assistant.
Yes.
To take care of all the other stuff that has that capability, and they would have to be a high quality hire.
And because that person is going to be running everything, normally for admin, you want a very compliant, stable, solid, responsible, reliable person, but very, very compliant and very follow the rules kind of a person. But the first one, you want them to run everything. And so that needs to be more of that take charge, drive personality, which is not a normal hire for that role, but eventually they need to be able to run all of it. So that's really kind of what you're looking for. But then the question goes back to you. I'm going to toss the question back to you. If that's the horse's ass, and that's the thing that's been stopping you, what is it that, like, I would encourage you to take some time to kind of ponder over, what do I want to do different? Not just as a reaction, but as a thoughtful response to this thing that I have here isn't working. So I need to try something different. What might some of my options be? And then figure out from there, hang on, I think I want that one. I think that one makes the most sense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In addition to this, I don't think I said it in this mastermind, but my wife was EXP agent. She became an agent in 1992. She went through all the trainings and everything. She's had to develop her spiritual life and things like that. And I'm sitting here a couple of days ago looking for the list for the phone numbers. I mean, the zip codes, so I can get them organized. Where are they? We put them away. I did not throw them away. Where are they? She's in South Carolina, and I'm sitting here, and I said, we were having a talk, and I said, why can't I get my shit together? And she said, because I'm not helping you.
Well, there you go. There's your strong help. Love it. Hey,
Now she'll be
Dutch,
back.
we sent you
Huh?
Craig's number in chat.
I got it. I just
All
wrote
right.
it.
all right. And then so I love that story. I have a question. Does anyone know anybody? Does Bree, did Michelle do short sales? Because she'd be a good person too if she doesn't do them currently.
Yeah, she would be excellent to do that. She's a quick learner. I don't know. She knows
I
of them,
do.
but I don't think she's done them.
I do short sales. I have a compliance problem with the person that has the property listed. My daughter is working the short sale and will buy it. And she has authorization from the seller to deal with the bank. And I don't want to get into it because it's long and complicated, but the listing agreement that they put together in December, this other company that has it listed They caused the bank to come out and appraise the house at $320,000, no, $280,000. It had been on the market for a year and a half before for 179. It didn't sell. So
Well, then
how can an appraiser do that? Anyway,
They didn't.
They drive by.
Yeah,
They
it's a
want me-
BPO or
she wants me to list the property so that when she's ready to put in an offer, her offer goes in.
Oh, you do have you have an arm's length transaction issue.
Yes,
Is
I
her
do.
last name different than your last name?
yes.
Oh, okay, so you got that in
She's
your
doing it
favor.
in business. She's doing it in her business.
Okay, so, but you definitely have an arm's length transaction situation going on. So you technically, legally and all that, you can't do it. However, if there's different last names and stuff like that, then, you know, it's harder to find, but, we should probably not talk, we should probably talk off about it. You know what I mean? Off later on about it. Dutch, do you have my Calendly link? So you can book if you ever need any help. Do you have that?
So you have a calendar link yourself.
Of course.
All right.
So hang on, it's going in the chat bar.
Yes.
I can get
Cool.
the chat bar to open up. There we go. Control V.
So that gives you an idea of what my day was like yesterday. Calling 3 FSBOs.
Yeah.
No answers, but I left messages. Down in South Carolina.
You go dark, Craig.
Having a conversation, huh?
I said, Craig's back. I said, don't you go dark, Craig. That's what he does to me all the dang time. Okay. All right. So, Bree, can you test Michelle's number in there also? Because that's worth the conversation.
Sure.
Because I think we may be seeing more short sales. I just think that that's a possibility. And that would be real. She'd be so good at that. So Michelle Dutch does a lot of TC work for a lot of the agents in a lot of different states. She's very reasonable. She's very, she's the TC work for my whole team. She's just reasonable, reliable, responsible, that personality type. She'd probably be a good match for that.
So she's a TC.
She's actually,
On our team.
she's
Okay.
yeah, on her team.
She's a realtor and she's a TC.
Yep.
So we could potentially co-list it. Keep my name.
She's in Nashville. You need somebody in Virginia, which would, is the deal in Virginia?
Yes.
So Liz on right here is in VA.
Okay.
Oh, so Kathy's in VA. Liz and Kathy are both in VA. I'm like, wait, I'm looking around at my crew. You got both in VA. So do some interviewing, have some fun.
Kathy.
And Dutch, just so you know, on the Gary's site, everybody's phone number's there.
That's right. I know. I just haven't transitioned over that. I was up till 1 o'clock last night mentoring on a different mastermind.
Right. I just
I just
thought I'd
sent you
tell so that-
Michelle's number. I just
Okay.
put Michelle's number in the chat.
Thank you. I'll write that down.
Perfect.
I
And
just thought you might want to be reminded in case you're not on with us, you know.
Yeah.
I need to get a roster agent page on my team site also. So thank you guys, because I just realized I don't have one of those on our site. Cool. Very cool. Love
Yeah,
it.
so I had I missed the conversation because someone walked up to me and started talking.
Do they want to buy a house, Craig?
Well, he wants to sell some. He's got a house that he's building. He's almost finished with it. Well, he's converting from a mobile home, and he's doing some work to it. 3
Mhm.
acres of land, and he wants to sell it. So
Nice.
yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, whatever, Dutch, if you need me, yeah, just give me a shout.
I'll give you a call.
Okay.
All right. Cool beans. Interesting conversation. Went all over the place. Okay. I'm gonna take that new home stat thing and I'm gonna pop that in because I thought that was super interesting. And who knows who can use what information that's in there. Maybe it will help with your buyers and all that. But anyway, so that's popped in the chat bar also. And then just take a look around your life at where the things are that maybe aren't working or whatever the system is. When I did real estate on, one of the things that we were constantly doing was I called it in my head circling around. So once the system was sort of built and operating and working at a pretty good level, then it was this constant thing of analyzing all the different components in my head. So where's the broken component, or the one that's not operating where it could be? And then wherever that broken component was, it's like, I'm not leveraging you the way that you should be. And then we would kind of restructure that chunk of the business, and would always pop up my my sales. And then the system would smooth out around that new process. And then we'd be looking around again, where can something else be coming in? How do we make something else work for me? So it's just a constant analyzing. So if you're not doing that in your business, if you're at the stage where you're building your database, build your database and get that system done first. And then once that system's up and operating, then we start looking around for the next system that needs to work. Maybe it's you're only closing 50% of your listing appointments. Maybe you're losing buyers. Maybe whatever it is, it'll be the glaring thing that pops up. And whatever that glaring thing is the thing that we need to work on next. So just always be looking for where those horses' asses are. And all the time in my life, they're my horse's ass. This one, that's in my own way, causing my ruts that I get.
Looking in the mirror.
Exactly. Looking in the mirror.
Yep,
Exactly.
that's me.
Yep, exactly. So, all right. Bree, you're muted, but I know you're talking to us.
Yeah, I was saying the ass is me.
The ass is me. Exactly. Yeah, I turned around, I saw the enemy, and it is within me. And it is my own ass in my own way, man. All right. I'm committing, like I said, to getting my database up. Ava was sick yesterday. This is not me blaming Ava. She has nothing to do with me getting my database from my phone, because I can't hand her my phone in the Philippines. It's my own thing. But I'm committing to getting my database up. And then I'm networking. I also am committing to networking in my local communities. So I am doing a networking event tonight. There's a dinner, which I was not going to go to because I need to prepare, because I'm doing a bunch of cooking for a big event on Saturday. But then I'm also doing another networking event on Saturday. And they were like, it was a weird phone call. I called the RSVP for this thing that's an hour from my house. And I called the lady and I'm like, hey, here's why I'm doing it. I'm thinking about starting, we're just chit chatting. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of thinking about starting a group in my area too. And she goes, oh, I'm the person in charge of doing that. I'm like, she's like, yeah, she goes, that's what I do. You should start one in your area. I was like, we'll sit down and we'll talk. And that's the beauty of networking. You just never know who you're going to run into, who knows something that helps you go the direction you want to go. And I have never been a networker, ever. That is not really what I have ever done. I've always been a cold calling queen that goes out and like conquer. And now I'm like, screw that, network. So there you go. Those are my steps for my horse's ass getting out of my way.
I picked up a date and a lender at the same time.
Ooh,
Oh, wow.
Look at
I'm
you,
jealous.
blending, leveraging.
And Christopher, I had to bring Christopher, and he was hitting, like when I was talking to men and they put their hand on my shoulder, he hit them. Christopher hit them.
I love it. When my son was about 3 years old, if I was getting ready to go out for an evening, which he told me later, he said, I always knew if you were going out. And I'm like, how did you always know? And he goes, as soon as you put lipstick on, I knew you were out the door. I was like, I mean, I'm so attuned, right? But he would go, quick. And then I would bend down. I was married at the time and everything, but he would take my shirt and he would button my shirt up to here. Like, all right, child, I get it, So they're so funny. He's like, oh, mommy has lipstick on. We need to button that shirt. I don't want mommy going out like that.
Right.
I know. So anyway, I should button up some of his shirts now. That's what I should do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I hope that you guys have amazing weekends. I'm super looking forward to, as always, if you got whatever sparks your attention or strikes that you're like, this is the thing that I think in my life that I'm going to be moving forward to. And then just as a completely sidebar, I encourage all of you, if you don't do homework for life yet, to incorporate that in, because there's some really profound things that come out of that. For me, it's really, really profound. And that's just writing down a sentence or two of everything that happened the day before, or whatever was the profound thing that happened. Like the one I put on Facebook that I told you guys also, where I was in the shower contemplating my marriage now with my marriage back then, and waiting for the length of time for the good to outweigh the bad, and then realizing that the good outweigh the bad in one day. So it's those kinds of things are great, wonderful things that I will forget if I don't write them down. And so I highly encourage you, if you don't do that practice, that's a really good one to do. All right. Yes, Kathy.
On the ink run, when you're,
Hang on, Dutch. Hang on one second, sweetie. Kathy?
I just wanted to say a couple of different things. One is that to be accountable, I have been working on trying to get my phone list in there. I know it's not where the date, but I have made a little bit of progress. It's not anywhere by any means done, but I have gotten a big step.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
And I
little by
want to
little.
talk to you at some point for just a moment. I won't think I'll take long if you can squeeze me in.
Yeah. And then Craig, you said something, and then Dutch, I know you want something too.
No, I was just telling Kathy, little by little, it's progress.
Mhm.
Exactly. And y'all are both ahead of me, because mine was just like, oh, I really need to dump my dang phone in, my 5,000 people. And then I was talking to my accountability buddy. Remember Nick DeVito, who taught a class one week? I was talking to him this morning, and he's like, once you figure out how to get your 5,000 people in, would you tell me so I could put my 8,000 people in? I'm like, yep. Yes, I will. So by the way, I'm networking to do the Cleveland launch with him. So chatting with him this morning, and then we'll network out on that one. And again, that's just a fortuitous, ran into some guy at an EXP event, ended up going on a bunch of roller coasters with him, and now he's my accountability buddy, and we're going to work together up in Cleveland. So it's just, the older I get, the more I realize it's relationships, it's who's. I always knew it was who's, but he didn't understand the importance, and golly, it's important. So Dutch, what'd you have, honey?
I was just wondering how you keep the ink room running when you met taking the notes in the shower.
I'm just lucky that the brain operates 3 seconds after I walk out the door, because I don't know about y'all, but I have been like this going, where is my phone? Where is my phone? I can't find my phone. So
I had my earbuds in, my phone was right here, and I wanted to look up a number, and I said, I can't find my phone. I can't find my phone. I'm talking on it. You know, it's just my earbuds.
yeah,
I'm disconnected.
the kiss of death is if I have my ringer off, because if I lose this puppy, I will never buy a dark phone again. Everything in my house is dark. I need a white phone. That's why there's this on the back, because I have to put it this way, so at least I can see something. But if my phone ringer is off and Greg's calling, and what doesn't ring, and I'm like, Greg, call my phone. It's constant. Please call my phone, Greg. And it doesn't ring, I am screwed. I'm like literally on my own computer going to find my phone, and it's like, it's right next to you. Stupid. All right, you guys. I hope you have amazing weekends. And I strongly encourage you to find your horse's ass and continue, always be looking for the horse's ass, because there's something that it is that we're doing. And that's continual, constant improvement. What's that called? Kaizen. That's called Kaizen. It's a principle about continuous and constant improvement. How I think personally, I just think it's one of the best ways to live your life. It's constantly looking for what you can do better, while being grateful for the things that we accomplish and the people that are in our lives and where we are now, because it is not where we were at all. It is a way different place. So, all right.
And remember to ask why.
Yeah, apparently ask. That's a really good one. All right, Kathy, stay on, and I'll get you taken care of now, because then I'm off, and it's like I said, I'm cooking for a bunch of people, so I got to run to the store and grab a bunch of stuff and all that. Have amazing weekends. I love all of you so much, and I want you to see what I see in you, in yourselves also, and not just the horse's ass, because that's not what you guys are. Beautiful human beings that just constantly improve and get better, and it's an amazing thing. Love you all. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.